Folks, this is Jason Roggasch, and this is going to be a Jason Roggasch Presents a movie review of Batman vs. Superman. Thank you for listening. This is going to be a quick review. I just saw the movie. It's fresh in my mind, and I took some notes. But I want to talk about a bigger problem, and that's David Goyer. This is the guy who wrote this script. Now, he's written some other Batman scripts, and he's worked with Christopher Nolan before. David Goyer is out of ideas. This is like pumping a dry well. He's not the only person on this script, but he's the important one because this is now, again, another script that Mr. Goyer has written that is terrible. Nobody wants to call this motherfucker out on it. Look, dude, you've made enough money. Go away. We don't want to see you anymore. You're out of ideas. Hollywood, stop fucking calling this guy. Okay, aside from that. This movie was a hot mess. Batman versus Superman was 9/11 terrorism, trying to conflate the real world with the fake world of superheroes. It never works very well. X-Men did this, but they didn't shove it down your fucking throat. This movie shoves it down your fucking throat. They don't even try to have fun with it. They don't try to make it whimsical. They actually make it like, what if an alien came down and It's absolutely terrible. And this script, the direction, too much CGI. But I will say this. The best part of this movie was actually Ben Affleck. That was the best thing I can say. Ben Affleck he's not a great Bruce Wayne, and he's not a particularly great Batman. But he wasn't the worst part of the movie. So I can say he's the best part of the movie, because that's really the only compliment I can give it. The script starts out, of course, 9/11 imagery, Gotham's being destroyed. Gotham and Metropolis get merged together, but then they're separate, but then they're together when it's convenient. They use the Christopher Nolan Batman stuff when it's convenient, and when it's not convenient, they disregard it completely. Amy Adams' character, who plays Lois Lane, should be called Superman bait, because that's all she is at this point. If Lex Luthor needs to get Superman, he uses Amy Adams and to draw, but even David Goyers' no talent ass figured out halfway through in this movie that you got to stop doing that. So what at the end? So they don't use Amy Adams, they don't use Lois Lane to get Superman. They use Martha Kent, Superman's mom, to get Superman. It is so lazy and so illogical and so ridiculous that it's beyond over the top. Lex Luthor, of course, is the perfect villain. He gets caught in the end, but I mean, you don't even know how he gets caught or what he gets caught for or what they really got him for. It's completely ludicrous. Jesse Eisenberg's character. Jesse Eisenberg is a very, very talented man, and I enjoy Jesse Eisenberg, but not as Lex Luthor. They should have gone with an older character, or they should have gone. They're trying to get the youth market. I think this movie was about 16-year-old, 13-year-olds, 16-year-olds. I don't know who it was for, but it wasn't for me. Chris Nolan has lost his fastball as a producer, and Zack Snyder has never really had a fastball as a director, but whatever, his 89-mile-an-hour cheese is now 83 miles an hour, and people are killing it over he's my metaphor, but you get my point. Zack Snyder's a fucking horrible director. He relies entirely too much on CGI. He relies entirely too much on imagery from popular paintings. You can tell this guy likes art, which is commendable if you're a good director, but it's just annoying if you're not. He is frenetic in his pace sometimes, and then he'll slow it down, and then he doesn't develop characters. You never know what anyone's real motivation is. You don't have any idea what Jesse Eisenberg Luthor his motivation is for killing Superman and getting Batman and Superman to fight each other. It's illogical. It's about his dad, or it's about gods, or it's about, you're never really sure. And that's not because it was murky. It was well done. It was just lazy screenwriting. The Wonder Woman character that everyone said, that every reviewer probably paid by DC and Warner Brothers that supposedly stole the show, was one of the worst parts of the movie. She's not in it very much, and when she is, she's just walking around in pretty dresses. And then when she does execute lines, she has a terrible accent. She's Israeli. No, I don't care where she's from, but she's a terrible actress. And she was in the Fast and Furious movies, and she was terrible in them, and she's terrible in this one. Bad casting choice. Henry Cavill is the wooden Superman that nobody cares if they ever see. He's not Christopher Reeve. He's not. In 10 years from now, when they reboot this thing 3 times, nobody will ever remember he was even Superman. Ben Affleck is a great businessman. Ben Affleck, I believe, is one of the great businessmen. He's like Mark Wahlberg and Channing Tatum. None of them can act, but they look that their bone structure, they're attractive enough to be on camera, very attractive, and they're really good businessmen. They really know what they're doing. It's how the Hollywood business is. Jeremy Irons plays Alfred. He's now a mechanic. he's now the brains behind the operation. And I know they're trying to. A lot of what they did were allusions to old Batman comics. Some Frank Miller, some even earlier. This movie was dark. It was depressing. It was charcoal gray. That Zack Snyder thing he likes to shoot in. You didn't feel good coming into it. You didn't feel good at any point in it. They try to mix in some humor. At times they'll do quips after people were being mutilated and tortured. It's hilarious to me how bad this movie was. And of course it'll make $1 billion. It already made $400 million worldwide. It's going to, of course, launch into the Justice League stuff. But if the Wonder Woman, they bad casting choice there. I think Ben Affleck was fine as Batman, but you won't remember anything. You won't remember he was Batman. He'll be like George Clooney. You just won't remember. Same thing with Cavill. This movie I weep for the Justice League because the Justice League is going to be terrible if this is any indication of what it's going to look like. Apocalyptic imagery. 9/11 imagery again. They want you to shoving down mainstream events that are going on right now with terrorism and things like that, and on our fears and those things, playing on that shit, and then adding people aliens that fly around. You know what I mean? You can't do that because you're asking us to take logic leaps that just aren't there. The Avengers and stuff, they didn't quite get you to do that. They didn't make that. They didn't use the politics thing so much. This movie could have been. And by the way, they only use the politics thing to draw you in with emotion, to get you to remember about terrorism and immigration and all these weird things. And then they use CGI monsters at the end. This is it's cynical, it's poorly executed, it's unmemorable, it's below mediocre, and frankly, Zack Snyder is becoming Michael Bay. Because Michael fucking Bay, he uses as many explosives as Michael Bay uses in his movie. In fact, the movies that were advertised before the trailers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 looked more entertaining than this movie was. And Michael Bay produced that one. It just was not a very good effort. And using, like I said, Amy Adams as Superman bait. I mean, it's just, and then using Martha Kent as Superman bait. It's just too fucking funny, too cynical, too easy. Superman's powers are nothing. He has some powers that he has sometimes, and he sometimes doesn't. Sometimes his X-ray vision doesn't exist anymore. Apparently, he can't really hear anything well anymore, and sometimes he can. And it's completely illogical. It was filmed in a way that makes you not really care about anybody. The thing that makes good superhero movies, there are people dressed in red and blue tights, running around and jumping around, fighting monsters that are CGI. Okay. It's all a joke. Ha ha ha. I mean, really, if you really think about it, what makes them memorable is Heath Ledger's Joker, or even Christian Bale's Batman in the first Batman movies, reboots, or even Michael Keaton's Batman. That kind of irreverent sense of humor, that arrogance he had, but that still you kind of liked him. That Jack Nicholson's Joker. We can point out the movie that I think the best movie so far this year, the superhero movie, is Deadpool. Deadpool was hilarious, and it's because you like Ryan Reynolds' character, and you like Ryan Reynolds. There's nobody in this Batman versus Superman movie you like or root for. Not one. And that's astonishing when you're talking about a superhero movie. Even with X-Men, you go for Logan, you go for Weapon X, you go for fucking Wolverine. He's the show. The Avengers, it's Tony Stark and his banter, Iron Man, etc. There's nothing here. Nothing. And that's what I took away from this movie. Not very well made, not inspired, and it will be forgotten probably in 10 years. Thank you for listening very much, and go see Deadpool because it's by far the best superhero movie I've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. Thank you for listening.